my mic working?
Yes. Yes. Hello.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good to see you both.
Do we remember who vice chair is?
Matt Messina, and I let him know.
Okay, great. Ooh.
I'm good. I haven't heard from him. Matt, it's 3 o'clock, and we expected Michelle to join us by phone, but in her absence as vice chair, would you be interested in starting the meeting? We have a quorum.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not muted, right?
Correct.
Okay. So are you going to go through your meeting process first?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We have a list of rules. Good afternoon and welcome to the June 18th, 2020 Metropolitan Planning Organization Policy Board meeting. My name is Jessica Mortinger and with me is Ashley Myers, and we will be facilitating the Zoom portion of today's meeting. We will work alongside Vice Chair Matt Messina, who is on remote video, to facilitate the meeting proceedings. Currently, we have everyone muted so we can talk through the general ground rules for today's meeting. This meeting is being recorded and broadcast live on the city's YouTube channel and on public access cable channel 25. During the meeting, please mute yourself by clicking on the microphone icon found in the lower left-hand corner of the Zoom menu next to the video icon. When you are muted, a red line will appear over the icon. This will make it easier for everyone to hear the meeting. Just remember to unmute if and when you want to speak. In the menu, you can also turn your camera on or off by clicking the video icon located next to the microphone icon. For the purpose of this public meeting, please keep your video on for the duration. If you are participating by phone, you can enter *6 to mute and unmute your phone. Somewhere on your Zoom screen, you will also find the choice to toggle between speaker and gallery view. Speaker view shows the active speaker. Gallery view tiles all the meeting participants. As a few reminders to ensure that we meet the provisions of the Kansas Open Meeting Act are met. As participants, you must state your name and title each time you speak. Individuals who are signed up in advance to provide comments will be remotely called for name. However, today no one has signed up in advance to participate. All motions will need to be stated clearly. After a motion is made and seconded, staff will call on each commissioner individually to provide their vote. Staff will then need to announce whether the motion carried and the count of the vote. I once again remind everyone to please mute yourself when you are not speaking. Now I'll turn the meeting back over to the chair for introductions because we have a few new people on the call today. Thank you.
Okay, so we're good to go through with introductions. I'll go ahead and start. My name is Matt Messina with Kansas Department of Transportation, Bureau of Transportation Planning. And we'll move on to Brian.
My name is Brian Kramer. I'm with the Baldwin City Council.
And next looks like Courtney.
Hello, it's Courtney Shipley. I'm a City Commissioner, Lawrence.
And Adam.
This is Adam Weigel, Transit and Parking Manager.
And Mr. Finkelday.
Yeah, this is Brad Finkelday, Lawrence City Commissioner.
And Jeff.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Crick. I'm the Planning Director for the Lawrence Douglas County Planning Office and also serve in some role with the Metropolitan Planning Organization.
Robert. Robert, are you there with us? All right, I guess that's everybody that's available.
Okay.
And do we have anyone here to provide public comment or read the written public comment received?
Jessica Mortinger, Transportation Planning Manager. There is no written comment that has been submitted or no one has requested to provide comment today.
Okay, then Matt Messina, Kansas Department of Transportation. I guess we'll go on to item C for the approval of May 21st meeting minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity to review and read those and approve of those?
This is Brad Finkelday. I move for approval of the May 21st meeting minutes.
Thanks, Brad. Do we have a second?
This is Brian Kramer. I second.
All right, Matt Messina. That's a motion and a second to approve the May 21st meeting minutes. Is there any further discussion on those? Okay. All those in favor of the approval?
Excuse me, Jessica Mortinger, we need to do a roll call vote, please. So I'll go ahead and call off everybody's name. Kramer?
Aye.
Geruso? Finkeldye?
Aye.
Messina?
Aye.
Sands? Shipley?
Aye.
Weaver? Thank you. Um, 4-0 to 1, and I'm going to assume Rob is abstaining because I haven't been able to correspond with him yet, even though we could see him on video.
Okay, Matt Messina, KDOT. Sounds like the motion approved. Moving on to the agenda items. Item number 1, Federal Fiscal Year 19 Transportation Improvement Program Amendment number 6.
Yes. Let me go to it. All right. So my name is Ashley Myers, Transportation Planner with the MPO, and this is amendment number 6 to the Transportation Improvement Program, or the TIP, which is a 4-year document that we write every 2 years, which includes all transportation projects that have federal funding as well as regionally significant projects. And the TIP is the implementation arm of the Long-Range Transportation Plan, Transportation 2040. And so we have to make sure that this is up to date because in order for, like I said, federal funding to be spent in the county, it has to be reflected in this document. We amend this document quarterly, typically is to keep it up to date, and this amendment had the required 15-day public comment period in March, and we did not receive any public comments. And the amendment programs the FY21 technical or transportation alternatives TA funding into the TIP for the Baldwin City project, which I'm trying to zoom in. Let's see. Maybe not. Oh, way zoomed in. Okay. For the Baldwin City project to build their shared use path along the Midland Railway from Highway 56 down to the Santa Fe Depot. This is the first segment of this path that will eventually go to Ottawa. And then another project was Lawrence Loop shared use path from Peterson Road to Michigan Street, which includes a grade separated crossing of the KTA at McDonald Drive, and more Safe Routes to School Phase 2 sidewalk and crossing improvement funding. And all 3 of those were for fiscal year 21. We also programmed in this TIP amendment funding for Independence, Inc., their 5311 funding for operating and administrative expenses, as well as purchasing a new ramp minivan. And then the other 3 changes were done, 2 of them for Douglas County, to just reflect actual expenses for 2020, and for Lawrence Transit to increase their state PT capital and decrease their state PT operating. Oh, Rob's trying to come in again. There we go. The TAC reviewed this at their June meeting and recommended approval. Any questions about this TIP amendment? I'll stop sharing for now, but if we want to dive into any more of it, I can scroll down to it.
right, so this is Matt Messina at KDOT, and this is an action item. So if there are any questions or comments about any of those projects that Ashley discussed, just let us know. We'll give you a couple seconds here. All right, not hearing anything, I think that it's safe to move forward with making the motion.
This is Brad Finkelbein. I move for approval of the FY19 Transportation Improvement Program TIP Amendment Number 6.
All right, we've got the motion. Is there a second?
Commissioner Shipley, I'll second.
Okay, and we've got our second. I think we'll move on to the roll call for the voting process.
Thank you. Jessica Mortinger, Transportation Planning Manager. I'll proceed to do a roll call vote. Kramer?
Aye.
Finkeldye?
Aye.
Messina?
Aye.
Sands?
Aye.
Shipley?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Okay, Matt Messina, KDOT. We'll move on to agenda item number 2, the System Performance Report, part of Transportation 2040 in Appendix F. I'll turn it over to you guys to share that with us.
Thank you. Again, this is Ashley Myers, Transportation Planner with the MPO, and I'll share my screen. Okay. Try to move your pictures. There we go. All right. So, as the agenda item says, this is the System Performance Report for Transportation 2040, which is actually Appendix F of the document. And Transportation 2040, let me zoom out a tiny bit so you can see it. There we go. Transportation 2040 is the long-range transportation plan for the MPO, which includes the entire county, and it was approved in March of 2018. We have 26 performance measures in the document. 12 of them were federally mandated and 14 were community established. This, as I mentioned, the plan was done in March of 2018. This is the first time that we're bringing data back to you all, and today we're not setting any targets or anything. We're only looking at the updated data. And we originally were waiting to gather all the data and do like a big annual report, but we realized that data is not all available at the same time frame, and so we are developing a rolling schedule, which we'll talk about today, to update the data as it's available and bring it to you throughout the year. So we'll talk about it throughout the year. And we've developed this new website that will hold the data. And some of this data, like I mentioned, we'll just be talking about how we're updating it, looking at new data today. We'll use this new data when we develop a new Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP, and also when we eventually develop a new long-range transportation plan. Okay. All right. There are 6 categories of performance measures within the 26 performance measures, and some of them are federally required and some of them are locally set. And so I'll go through each one of those. So the first category is safety, and those are federally required, and we're required to set targets for those yearly. So we're going to update the data yearly and then also update the targets. We get that data from KDOT, and we should receive the 2019 data in July of this year. So then we'll be able to look at 2019 and we'll set the target for 2021 in the fall. Pavement and bridge is another one that we get from KDOT, and we're not exactly sure when we'll be getting data for pavement and bridge, hopefully soon, or on every couple of year basis. But we update our targets every 5 years. And then the local pavement data we are going to be updating every 2 years. System performance has to do with the interstate and non-interstate national highway system, and that data is available yearly through the federal government, and we set targets out for every 5 years. And then we have local measures that are available yearly as well. Transit is, updating the local measures yearly and setting the targets every 4 years. And then bicycle and pedestrian and miscellaneous are just local measures, and so there's no targets associated with them. And those are done yearly or every 2 years based on when data is available. So as I mentioned, we have 26 performance measures, and they were all attached in the report with your agenda. But we thought it would be good to just go through one per theme area. And so we're going to start a little highlight of those. First category is safety. And this graphic and number was actually approved by you all last November, November 2019. We approved the 2020 target. The blue line are the annual fatalities, where the red line is 5-year average numbers. And we used projections and we set the 2020 target. 2020. This is pavement and bridge, and we don't have any new data since Transportation 2040 was approved for pavement and bridge. There's like 4 or 5 measures in this category. So we picked this one because we thought it was interesting, even though we don't have any new data, just so you could see it. This is the percentage of payment of non-national highway system major roads, collector and above, in good condition. And you can see we have data from Lawrence and Eudora and Douglas County. And for Eudora, we only had a point-in-time count. So we'll see if they have additional data when we go to collect that. And here it is for poor condition in Lawrence, Eudora, and Douglas County. This is system performance, and the title is very much a federal title. The percentage of person miles traveled on the non-interstate NHS that are reliable. And when we developed this projection and set the target for 2022, we only had data for 2016 and 2017. And so it was really hard to make a projection for 2022 when we only had 2 years of data. But we set our target for 99%, and after the fact have gotten 2018 and 2019, and so we'll look at that monthly data because it's interesting. So 2018, I set the target on the online system through the system where I get the data to 99%, and so it shows in red that we only hit the 99% target in April and July because everything else is red. But we still ended up hitting the 99.3 threshold. But in 2019, we did not. Our area was 96.4. So then it was like, well, why? And so I was able to show a map, and the non-interstate NHS is K10, 56, 40, 59, and then when you zoom in on it, there's really congestion shown on this map on Iowa and 23rd, and then on 6th between the bridges. So this might be a good way to develop projects to address this. And that's how we can use this data, is by looking at it and then thinking about what we can do. There we go. This is transit. Percent of population with access within a quarter mile to fixed route transit stop. When we collected this data in 2015 and 2019, we then looked at it and thought, oh, it went slightly down. And we realized part of that is because the EJ zone changed between 2015 and 2019. And also the way we collected the data was different. And so we created a model in 2019. So when we go to collect this again in 2020, at least the data collection will be the same. The EJ zone might change again, but we'll know that that's consistent as we move forward. Same thing with this one, the percentage of public streets with bikeway network. The EJ zone changed between 17 and 19, and we also didn't have a model yet. So this data is collected in GIS, but now we have a consistent way to collect the data. And this is one of the miscellaneous numbers, or measures the average cost of transportation per household. And there's no new data for this because this data comes from the Center for Neighborhood Technology, and its update is completely contingent on their funding. They were hoping to update it in the fall of 2019 and do it every 2 years, but they evidently didn't have the funding to do that. So we don't have new numbers for this. The other thing is, when we got these numbers, it assumed gas at $2.50, and so that is a variable that has changed. All right, so moving forward, this appendix that was attached to the agenda will replace the current Appendix F of Transportation 2040 after you all review it and hopefully approve it. And then we've developed this new website here, T2040/PM, which will house all the performance measures. We'll have one PDF with all of them and then break up the PDFs. And so if you only want to look at pavement and bridge data, you could click on the pavement and bridge picture and go right to that data. And then we'll bring updated data to you all throughout the year, and we can dig even more into it when we bring it to you then. Do you have any questions on the appendix or our plan to update it?
So Jessica Mortinger, Transportation Planning Manager. So I think the important thing for you to know is this is the starting point for us to begin to start gaining some data history with some of these metrics. It allows us to have an opportunity for when we develop the Transportation Improvement Program and other planning documents to start using this data in transportation decision making. It also allows us to have conversations with all of our local jurisdictions about the impacts of some of the projects that they're selecting in the process have. And so we will continue to update and validate the data as best as possible to help our conversation and analysis around what's happening and what transportation funding, resource decisions, and other decisions are having on some of the metrics we've chosen to follow.
This is Brad Finkeldye. Can someone, Jessica, can you tell me what an EJ zone is? I don't know what the EJ zone is.
Go ahead.
So the EJ zone, that stands for Environmental Justice Zone, and that's an area that's either low income or minority. And we have that zone identified in the TIP is the most current place where we update that. And we evaluate to make sure we're not harming the environmental justice area and also providing projects in the environmental justice area. It's about helping and not hurting, I guess would be a very simplified version of it. We also evaluated the EJ zone in Transportation 2040, as you saw as part of the measures, and there's a whole chapter about what the EJ zone is and how the projects are not adversely impacting it.
All right, Matt Messina, KDOT, are there any other questions or comments related to the system performance draft that was shared? Okay, this is another action item, so are there any motions out there to proceed?
This is Brad Finkeldye. I move to approve the system performance report, Transportation 2040, Appendix F.
Okay, we've got the motion to approve.
This is Brian Kramer. I second.
All right, thank you. I think we're going to take it to the vote now.
Okay, Jessica Mortinger, Transportation Planning Manager, and I'll proceed to do a roll call vote. Kramer?
Aye.
Finkeldye?
Aye.
Messina?
Aye.
Sands?
Aye.
Shipley?
Aye.
Thank you. That passes unanimously.
All right, Matt Messina, KDOT, moving on to item number 3, the introduction of coordinated MPO and Lawrence Transit work.
All right. Jessica Mortinger, Transportation Planning Manager. To follow up from Policy Board Member Finkeldye's request kind of at our last meeting to introduce our new Transit and Parking Manager, we wanted to take the opportunity to do that and talk a little bit about the coordinated work between the MPO and Lawrence Transit that we have planned within our Unified Planning Work Program for 2020 and probably into the future. Last month, you entertained a work plan amendment that included the addition of a shared intern to assist Lawrence Transit with some evaluation, outreach, and planning around transit services and bus stop amenities. And we're going to begin to develop that work plan, and we're in the process of working on that intern hire currently. But I would like to introduce Adam and give him a chance to say hi to himself and talk a little bit about himself.
Sure. Thanks, Jessica. This is Adam Weigel, Transit and Parking Manager. It's good to meet you all virtually. So I have been in DC the last couple of years, working first as a bike ped coordinator in Prince William County, but then as a transit consultant with a big firm. Worked for 6 months embedded in the Pentagon on a lot of the bus movements in and out of there, as well as multimodal work in that major hub, as well as just some of the large regional projects throughout the East Coast. Prior to that, I had been in Lawrence for 12 years. My wife and I own a home in East Lawrence, so this has been my adult home, definitely, and have been coming up here since a pretty young age with older siblings as well. So this has been a trip back home for me, and prior to moving up to DC, I was working down the road at Topeka Metro as the director of planning there. So just really excited to be back, working on transit and working in a place that I really love. So happy to be here, excited to work with the MPO. I had worked under Jessica as an intern a couple of years ago, so we've got good familiarity there. But just really excited to get to work, and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Matt Messina, KDOT. I just want to say thanks, Adam, for taking the time to join us today, and it's great to have you back.
That's good. This is Brad Finkeldye. Good to meet you on virtually. You kind of brought the COVID with you, right? Didn't you start and the next day you went home and haven't come back?
I want to go on record and say that was not my fault. This is Adam Weigel, Transit and Parking Manager. I guess on the record. Yeah, it was an interesting start. I got back on March 16th when everything pretty much shut down that weekend. So that has been interesting. I can say this is not how I envisioned the first few months of my tenure here. I really thought I'd be out meeting a lot more people in person. That's kind of my style. So it's been definitely challenging to start remotely and continue that way. But I'm sure we'll transition back into some in-person coordination, and I'm looking forward to that, definitely.
I think about it. We are looking forward to it as well. Thanks for being here.
And Matt Messina, KDOT. I think we can go ahead and just move on to the quick updates, unless there was anything else to cover under the coordinated MPO work.
Jessica
All
Mortinger,
right, go ahead, Jessica.
It's okay. Jessica Mortinger, Transportation Planning Manager. I was just going to say we don't have anything else, and if no one else had any other remaining questions. Thank you.
Okay, then Matt Messina, KDOT. Moving on to the quick updates, recent TAC meeting minutes.
Jessica Mortinger, Transportation Planning Manager. We've posted the most recent approved TAC minutes for your consideration, or just for your entertainment, to read up on some of the discussions that TAC has had. That's something that we do pretty typically. Hopefully, by the next time we meet, we'll get back to doing our quick updates of our work, although we're having just seen some reshuffling of workload, and so we haven't given you those because there's a lot of tenuous stuff there. But that's what we have for you. If anybody has any questions about anything, I'd be happy to entertain questions about any of our other work as well.
I'm Messina Kayla. Is there anything to mention from anyone for the TAC minutes?
I'm trying to think what they talked about in March.
Not seeing or hearing anybody. Do we have anything for other business? Again, not seeing or hearing anybody. So I guess it's on to motion to adjourn. We're not that formal on this one.
Yeah,
are we?
yeah.
Matt Messina at KDOT saying thank you to everybody for taking the time to do this, and we'll catch up next meeting, July 16th.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.